Welcome to Technology and Education. Today I'm Richard Smith.
And I'm Caroline Crawford.
And today we're talking about a checklist that all instructional developers should be using, or instructional designers should be using, that will guide you through the final process of developing a course, whether it's online or face-to-face. You know, before we publish the course, there are certain things that we should always make certain that are present in that course before we let it go for final release.
Beyond simplistic things like spelling check, grammar check, there's so many other things to worry about. Before you even begin designing and developing the product, but also at the very end, just to double check.
Well, for instance, let's say you're using slides.
We can suggest that.
Which are very
okay.
very
a slideshow, all right.
Very common. But the simple things like, have you checked to see whether all your slides do not exceed, let's say, 5 lines of text within a slide? Because any more than that becomes very, very difficult to read on a screen.
5 or 6 lines. I must say that I always go against that rule.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
Well, and it's not a positive statement, but unfortunately I go against that rule.
You don't have the
I don't have the list in front of me.
You don't have the list in front of you.
But you're right. Less is more. Less is always more, especially if you're presenting information or there is an audio component to it. There's only supposed to be enough information to guide the discussion.
Right. So have you double-checked the slides for their understandability? Have you shown the slides to somebody else and asked that person if he or she understands what the slide is trying to say? Because a lot of times we write things, it's clear to us, but it's not clear to other people.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you meant all of the information is going to be available on the slideshow. Like, then why are you there? But now I understand what you mean.
Have you checked it for typos? I know you mentioned that before, but it's amazing the amount of typos that can come through.
An automatic spell check will kill you every time.
And is the tone of everything that you present on the slides or in the content the same within the course? In other words, do you go from very serious to very lighthearted and back and forth and switch in such a way as to become confusing to your...
A cognitive issue.
A cognitive issue. I was going to say confusing to the audience, but
same thing.
A cognitive issue. Any graphics present in your slides or throughout the course, are they meaningful or are they there for decoration? Because if they are just there for decoration, in my opinion, you can take them out because it just adds to clutter on the screen.
As well as time and effort associated with copyright concerns, going and obtaining written approval to use the product. Copyright.
Absolutely.
Copyright infringement is a serious issue.
Look and feel of the course. So, is the look and feel consistent throughout the course of the slides and the material that you are using?
And by look and feel, you mean what? So, for instance.
Well, for instance, do you use a template for your slides with the company logo on each slide, or with whatever design that has been approved for these slides,
whatever branding effort?
Right, or is everything just sort of a hodgepodge of however you felt on a particular day to get the content onto the screen?
I've seen people that do that. They have different templates on each slide. And it drives me crazy. Like, really? I don't care what color you're using in this slide. I want to know the information. Priorities. So, yeah, nifty cool that you can do that, but just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right. And there are the simple issues like, do you have enough white space around the content of your slide, or is everything cluttered out to the edges?
And not to mention, when you do have these slides, if you're using them on different machines that you haven't necessarily tested them on previously, you may find that you don't have the font that you designed the slideshows in, the slide interface. You don't have the same font, so it's going to fall off the page, look totally different, it's unreadable. Change over to numerous different types of fonts, and that will be just chaotic.
Exactly. And the exercises and the assignments that are provided in the names are on the slides or however else you're presenting a course management system. Do the exercises themselves, do they make sense? are those exercises understandable, and are the exercises there to advance the student's ability or the participant's ability to achieve the goals set out by the course designer, or are they just there to occupy time and space?
That is actually a great point. Within instructional design environments, yes, you are supposed to understand what the goals are, design out the objectives, and align the assessments next. But not everyone does that. Although it's appropriate procedures in instructional design, not everyone actually follows instructional design expectations. So absolutely, go back, double check, make sure it actually makes sense. And I can't tell you how many times I've spoken with other people, whether it's out in the business industry training world or in academic courses or wherever. So much of the commentary is, yeah, that was a real waste of my time. It was just busy work. Unless there's an obvious objective that's been delineated for the person doing the work, unless it makes sense, unless you can pull it back into the instructional objectives, so what? And that's a fair question to ask consistently as you're reviewing. So what? Why is this here? Because I thought it was a good idea, I feel it's a good idea, or you're meeting specific instructional objectives that have been designated.
And you know what fits in with that? The assessment of the participants' work. In other words, participant finished or participants finished those assignments. Now, do you have a meaningful or accurate assessment of what the students have done? In other words, does the assessment match the goals of the assignment? Are you measuring?
Do you have an assessment that is readily available for the student's review? I used to love that going through school. Guess what I'm thinking? Guess how I'm going to grade your work? That used to drive me crazy.
And then on a summative issue, do you have a post-assessment for for the course that you designed? And now and this doesn't get into the various ways you can assess or various models to make certain that you are assessing correctly. But does it actually exist? Because sometimes courses are put together and there's no overall assessment at the end.
Tell me how you're defining post-assessment.
Well,
you mean like a major project or a real-world implementation?
Well, you can have a major project, you have a real-world implementation. The simplest example, of course, would be the pre-test, post-test model, which happens to be not the best to do, especially if you're talking about simple questions. But something there at the end of that course that
Let's hope you learn something.
that measures how well the students have achieved the goals of the course.
I have a problem with the pre-post doing that, but okay.
Well, I have a problem with it also, but what I'm saying is that the course should have some sort of overall assessment that is meaningful, in addition to the individual assessments of the individual assignments of tasks or tasks within a course. So another thing you want to watch out for is the technical aspects of the course, and I think you touched on that previously with the font issue. But
as well as, boy, those hyperlinks. If you have external hyperlinks, I'm telling you, even though you check it right before the classes begin, the training begins, they're not going to work a couple weeks in.
And it's also issues such as the load time of your course, if it's an online course, how long it takes for a student or a viewer to get that course to come up on his or her screen. And then you also say, is it viewable does it view correctly on all available web browsers? Now, and it doesn't even have to be all available, just all the major web browsers. Now, I know for sure that there's at least one course management system that I'm familiar with that does not view correctly on all web browsers.
Browser, yes.
Right.
But that is actually a very good point. Making sure that you can read it, whether you're talking about on a tablet, whether you're talking about on a laptop, on a desktop. If the vast majority of your students are mobile and you know they're mobile, why not design a course around a mobile app environment? You know that's what they're going to use primarily. Why make it difficult on students just because you don't feel like doing that?
Well,
it's customer oriented, okay, learner oriented, whatever you want to call it. It's still meeting the needs of the learners where they are.
and we're running out of time now. We have one more one section I think is very, very important, the audio and video that may be in an online course or a face-to-face course.
Nice
You know,
segue from your prior, making sure that it does load appropriately.
yes, so that it is the audio, if it's, especially if it's audio narration, is that audio clear? Is the narrator speaking in a manner that's professional and
Is there a transcript?
as well? When required, is there a transcript available? Um, is is the audio at the same level and tone throughout the course? So, depending on the microphones that you are using and the distance of the microphone from the audio source, it can make a huge difference.
Throughout the same video, even.
Yes.
I've watched videos trying to understand the information, glean the information, and it's very strong, and you have to turn down your volume, and then all of a sudden, whisper soft. I can't understand. I'm so busy trying
And
to
that brings
move
us-
the volume up
Right,
and down.
right, and that's the other thing. Is the volume controllable from within the course, or do you have to go to the volume settings on your speakers or what have you?
Good
And with
question.
that, we've reached the end of yet another edition of Technology and Education Today. For Technology and Education Today, I'm Richard Smith.
And I'm Caroline Crawford. Bye.